We'll be live.
Greetings, fellow Earthlings.
That's
That
pretty
wasn't
good.
good.
That's
That
pretty
was
good.
okay.
I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's,
Thanks.
I
Okay.
like that actually. That's my
Appreciate
new
that.
favorite.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. So we have one vote. That is good. That is good.
Yeah. All right, guys. We're answering Patreon questions. Last week we answered we did freebie for anybody, but today we're going back to just doing Patreon questions. So if you guys want us to answer your questions, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. A patron on Patreon. Link to our Patreon in the description. Once we answer the questions, we're going to bring YouTube members up. So we're going to post a link in our community tab that in a way that only YouTube members can see. So if you want to come up and talk to us, you can become a YouTube member. So patrons get to ask their questions ahead of time, like a day ahead of time, so we answer them. And YouTube members get to come live and air. Oh, another thing, we also answer super chats in the live chat if anybody asks a question. Hey, Rebecca's here. Rebecca's saying, "Hey, Secular Rarity."
Hey, Rebecca.
What about me? Hello, Rebecca.
Chopped liver, Armin. You're old news, bro.
Oh. All right, so we have a lot of questions again. But the first question was not posted as a comment under our Patreon post. It was sent to me privately. So I just wanted to answer that one first, and then we go through the Patreon questions that were posted as a comment. Okay, so the question is, what do you think about this? And there's a link, and I'll show you the link. And the title of the article says, Germany, man fined 4,000 euros for hanging a Russian Z sign on car. And then the question goes, I know it's not related to religion, but to free speech, definitely. I understand their point, why, but it's still punishing people only for their beliefs. So let me read the article so we know what is happening. A court in Hamburg fined a man 4,000 euros for displaying the Z symbol in the rear window of his car. The sign is used by Russian propaganda as a sign of support for the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So a 62-year-old man was fined 4,000 euros, roughly $4,000, by a court in Hamburg on Tuesday for displaying the Russian propaganda symbol Z. According to the incitement, in March, about a month after the start of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the man attached a white A4 sheet of paper with the blue Z painted on it to the rear window of his car and drove through Hamburg with it. The prosecutor found that in this way the man wanted to express his support for the Russian war of aggression. The court imposed a fine of 80 daily rates of 50 euros, originally without public hearing. Only a penalty of 60 daily rates was imposed, but because the man appealed, there was a public trial. The verdict is not yet legally binding as it is subject to appeal.
That's interesting.
All right, what do you think about this?
Well, it sounded like at first, I mean, the fine was less initially, and then because the individual went through the court system and actually had the trial, that further action was imposed, and that definitely happens in the United States as well. I would love to know exactly why they ruled against the man, what they were saying, because it does seem to me now, of course, obviously, this is Germany, so their freedom of speech laws are different than, the United States or other countries. But it does seem to me that this would violate that if what they're finding is that you simply are not allowed to publicly express your support for the invasion by Putin. So if that's what they're saying, then I would definitely feel like that's not the right decision. If what they're saying is that this was inciting violence, then I would feel better about that, because that's normally where we draw that line for freedom of speech, is when you're inciting violence for people. But I don't know how they would get away with that.
If you're not if you're commenting on
a
war situation.
Yeah, I don't know how this would be that, but without that statement from the court.
Would it be incitement of violence if you say I'm supporting Ukraine?
Yeah,
because they're also inflicting violence. They're justified violence, but
that's the only legal distinction I think that you could.
But that's not even what they're saying. They're you can't support Russia.
That's kind of That's what it seems like without further
That's insane.
further info. Yeah, I would
This
I
is
would say that's
insane.
wrong. Yeah.
This is insane.
Yeah.
I would say this is insane, but I don't know. Maybe in the Islamic Republic of Germany, they would arrest me next time I'm there. So I support it, I guess. I don't know what the hell.
You're not allowed to
Crazy.
to deny the big H, I think too. I think that's a law in Germany.
Yeah,
Right? Like
I
you're
don't
not
agree with
allowed
any
to.
of this. You
Yeah,
can't also.
both of
Yeah.
those seem. I mean, I
Like
understand. I think why they're coming to this, at least in the like best of intentions, but I don't think they're going about it right. If that's the case, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean that one. Even though I don't agree with
it's
it,
odd.
okay, I can still see why you guys are so sensitive about it. I
Oh
mean, you
yeah.
guys literally almost ended the world.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I guess like I can see why you're not rational about it, about you having like a guilt issue with your history. But
Yeah.
what the hell is this?
Yeah.
This is insane.
Yeah.
You cannot express your opinion about a war. I mean, they're idiots. Obviously, they're supporting Russia
Right.
over Ukraine.
That's the
So I
wrong
agree.
decision, in my opinion,
That's
for
that's a
sure.
wrong decision.
But
this
people-
is like this is yeah. Go on.
People are allowed to be wrong. People are allowed to come to different conclusions. Again, where I really draw the line is at that point where you're directly inciting the violence, right? And this, to me,
Or fraud,
or sure, or fraud. That's fair too.
or
But
life.
in none of those situations, I mean, none of those situations apply to this, in my opinion. So I don't know. Again, without further understanding from how the judge ruled and their specific reason, it does seem to me like it's definitely a bit of an overreach, but it can be appealed, it said. So
It's funny how in an attempt not to be like themselves in the past, they're actually acting like just a little bit. Not like not,
Yep.
not I'm not saying it's equivalent, okay? But this is actually a step closer to that. It's not a step away from that. That's a step closer to that.
It's got the same kind of smell or taste to it, you know? Like it's not exactly the same dish, but it's like pretty close.
I mean, how are you like this is a European country. This is a free country. How are you guys are going to make sure that you come up with the right decisions when you can't be challenged? Like you can't support Russia. So you were right about it at this instance, but like next time you come up with the wrong decision, people can like if you're so emotional about it, then you're gonna have laws that people can challenge it, and you're gonna obviously this is a recipe for making bad decisions where people can't really challenge them. This is horrible. And also, this is not just about Germany. You're setting up a standard for third world countries that were like, okay, look, we can do this. We can limit free speech. Germany, a European country, has limited free speech. So you like when the citizens are like, oh, we want to be like these free countries. They were like, well, look at here. And I know they do this because I'm from Iran. Every time the government supporters want to support the government in Iran limiting free speech, they're like, well, you guys like Western countries. Do you know what Western countries do? And they're like, in France, it's illegal to burn the flag. And now I have this. But like when they say that about the big H in Germany or the burning of the flag in France, okay, they got those wrongs, but those are just like few. Now they have this. They're like, even in small issues, they limit free speech. You're weaponizing, you're giving them an example for them to set their standards on. Like, how bad could it be that we're limiting free speech when other countries do it? Other countries who claim to be free speech, like supporting free speech. So this is horrible. This is not just horrible for Germany; it's horrible for the world.
And even though that argument is a bad argument, even though, hey, other people do it, so it should be okay for us too, right? Even though that is a bad argument, can we just all collectively agree that we try not to give people like the Iranian regime or the North Korean regime or Vladimir Putin an example that they can point to and use for their propaganda? Can we just agree to that? Like, we try our best to like not do things that other, authoritarian regimes could go, look how bad like.
It is a bad argument, but it's also not as bad as you think, because
Oh,
it's not just
it's
about
motivating.
It's not just whataboutism. It's the understanding that the countries that we understand to come up with laws based on not religion, but based on rational arguments and evaluating costs and benefit of things. Okay, we have a perception that these are how these more advanced countries come up with their laws, and even they have come up to the conclusion that it's okay to limit some speech. Okay, so there might be something to it. That's the narrative.
That's a much stronger, for sure. Much stronger there. And again, I agree. I mean, whether it is a bad argument or not, at the end of the day, it never looks good when you do something that the North Korean regime could go, yeah, we support that decision. Good job.
Yeah.
Like that should always be a moment for you to take a step back. I hope. But
we got a super chat that I don't understand, and I don't want to read it because I might be reading something hateful in German. Varun, what are you saying? Ich bin something. Ich bin. What is kaboot? Do you know?
I do not.
No? Okay. And Oxymoron is saying Germans need to embrace freedom of speech and get over sensitivities. Yes, I agree. I think like, here's another thing. This, who does this? You know who else does this? Putin. Right? So
Good point.
Your anti-Russian laws are actually very Russian in nature.
Yes. Do you think they will have that recognition in the coming days, or will this be a whole big court process? Will this get appealed, or hey, maybe we're doing some kind of Putin things?
Yeah. I mean, how are you guys supposed to evaluate whether this is a good policy where you can't even say, oh my God damn, this is so stupid. We got a new member by Sai Pranithij Samudrala. Thank you, Sai, for being a member. And a reminder again that if you remember, by the end of the show, you guys can come up and talk. So
and
there's that.
You can correct Armin's pronunciation of your name.
Oh yeah. What are you talking about? That was
it was great.
That was perfect. That was I'm pretty sure that was exactly how you pronounce it. Okay. All right, let's go to other questions. Higgs Boson is asking, what do you think of Andrew Tate converting to Islam? I see that a lot of Muslim women dislike Tate. There's actually a war right now happening between a lot of English. I don't know about other Muslims, but English-speaking Muslim men and Muslim women are at war with each other over this. So Muslim men are celebrating this, and Muslim women are hating on this. And they're Muslim men, and I know there's exceptions, but like there seems to be somewhat of a divide. Actually, there's a Daniel Hagaju posted a meme about this. I will bring it up. But tell me what you think.
I definitely want to know Daniel's thoughts on this for sure. But yeah, I mean, honestly, what you just said, I think, is just another instance of Muslim women leading the way in the Islamic world and standing up and pushing back against the nonsense and the garbage. This isn't the first time we've seen this, and it won't be the last. But yeah, when I heard that, when I saw this question, I was like, gosh, I have no idea what could Muslim women or any women or just anybody that's not an outright misogynist, what would they have to find a problem with Andrew Tate's rhetoric?
But look at this. This is, guys, this is not us making fun of Muslim women. This is Muslim men making memes about Muslim women. This is like an internal war right now between the battle of the sexes right now.
It's amazing. I think when I heard that Mr. Tate was converting to Islam, the first thought that I had was that clearly he was only doing this with a deep knowledge and understanding of the history and the theology. You know, I am confident that he spent lots of time at the schools, the various schools, studying from the greatest of scholars. Armin, I mean, would you second that? Do you also believe that?
Yes, of course. I mean, you're not suggesting that these Dawa boys are hypocrites.
No.
And when we leave Islam, they ask us to be completely educated about it.
No.
When somebody becomes a Muslim, they don't have the same standard. I hope you're not suggesting that. That's a major accusation.
You know, we are here to ask questions and give answers, Armin. And, you know, sometimes we give answers and sometimes we ask questions. And this is one of those question moments.
Wait, did you see his reason for...
No, did he actually say what his reason was?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Well, actually, it's pretty, like, let me show you. I hope I could find it fast. Nope, it's not here. Maybe if I do a Google image search for the post, because it's pretty ridiculous. Oh, there we go. Oh, I found it. Okay. It's amazing because actually a lot of Muslims, when they were covering why he became a Muslim, they showed this post, but they cut the lower part because even Muslims recognize that his reasoning for converting to Islam is absolutely ridiculous. Even Muslims recognize that. Okay, few people left the bottom part on. Like Daniel Hayrajus really believes in the bottom part, but most people that I was looking at, they cut the bottom part. So here. So this is why I'm Muslim. Any Christian who believes in good and understands the true battle against evil must convert. And there's a Quranic verse, so be patient. Indeed, this promise of Allah is truth. So if you cut this image out, if this actually doesn't make any sense, you have to include the image. But a lot of people remove the image. And they're like, wait, what are you referring to? So he's like basically saying he's talking about Christians being trans. And he's suggesting that Christianity is not standing up to what's right. Okay. So basically saying I'm so transphobic that Islam is the only religion for me. The only religion that speaks to my transphobia.
Cool story, Andrew. Really appreciate that. You know, man, what a jackass you would have to be like, hey, I'm actually just gonna like completely adopt another like worldview and set of beliefs, mainly because I would like to be more bigoted towards people. Like, just how?
Yeah, Varun gave us another $2 super chat. Thank you, Varun, saying Islam only religion acceptable to Andrew. Yeah, I can see why. I thought it was I thought it was the misogyny, but apparently that's what I would have guessed but apparently it's not the misogyny, it's the transphobia.
My God. Well, at least nobody can ever criticize him for not being at least a little nuanced, right? It's not, you know, he specifically has his hatred towards trans people, not just women, not just, you know, anybody that's feminine in any way whatsoever, but trans people specifically. Thank goodness Andrew Tate is out there giving us his really nuanced and brilliant fucking takes, right? I mean, God.
But what do you think about the fact that so many channels that were like, oh my God, he's a Muslim now, and this is why they cut this image out, and this is the only part that they show.
I think this is something that would so there's a branch of a Protestant Baptist in the United States. They're fairly small, but the new independent fundamental Baptists are just hardcore bigots. They're like super hateful, homophobic, transphobic, misogynist. I mean, you name it. All the bigoted stuff you can wrap up together. I think if somebody converted to like that branch, right, and felt those strong opinions and posted out a tweet like this, I think there would be a lot of Christian groups that did something similar, where they would take the first part and they would say, yeah, that's good. That's our message. And then just kind of push the other part under the rug and try and like, no, we've never had a problem with gay people. Like, no, it's totally fine. Like, we love women. Women are great. They make our babies. I mean, they're valuable people. So yeah, I think this is something that we're seeing across the board with religions. Everybody wants to kind of soften their image just a little bit because they, are recognizing that you can't hide your bigotry as much anymore. And when you're just hateful, like, people don't want to come to your sermons. So
yeah. By the way, if anybody thinks the reason why they hide this is because they can't show a picture of a woman, they actually don't have any problems with this because they don't consider this person to be a woman.
Right.
So this would not be un-Islamic to show this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like some people, like, more conservative channels who do consider this to be a good reason to convert to Islam have shown this, right? But I don't know. I think a lot of people will be mad. It's like, even if you're happy about it, like, this is like, really, like, Islam, you're supposed to convert to Islam is because it's a great religion and it's beautiful
and it's true.
The Quran, yeah, and it's true, but not like this. Like, this is like, really, like, I don't know.
And that's why what matters to me so freaking much in these discussions is critical thinking. And how we get to the decisions that we accept, right? Because it's awesome. Somebody comes out tomorrow and says, "Hey, I don't believe in that fundamental theological crap anymore." That's great, but if they turn around and tell me the reason is because I spilled hot coffee on my lap 3 days in a row, it's like, well, that's not a good reason.
That's actually a good point, because this is the kind of reasoning that Muslims would make fun of if you use it to leave Islam. Right? They keep like, oh, you guys didn't leave Islam because of any logical arguments. You just hated having to abide by rules, or you didn't want to live a proper life, or you just love sinning. It was all emotional, right? But then when somebody has like a not logical argument, but just like, I just don't like this doesn't feel right, and they converts to Islam, but such hypocrites, like, it's so disgusting, and they have zero self-awareness about what they look like when they do stuff like this. All right, let's go to the next question. Oh, Higgs wasn't here. Higgs wasn't. We answered your first question, so let's switch it around and go to one of Asian Americans' questions. Oh my God, these are weird questions as usual. No, actually, they're good. Let me do some less weird ones, and then we go to the weird ones later. All right. So, Asian American is saying, how many elections where the winner of the popular vote loses the electoral college would you consider America had ceased being a democracy? I think this is something you're more aware of.
Yeah, so the first thing that is worth pointing out, and you'll often hear people say it right about now, is that technically America is not a democracy. We are not. We are a constitutional republic with democratic aspects to it, and that is very important.
There's a question asking specifically that. So,
okay, cool. I'll hold off on that. Yeah. I'll hold off. So with that being said, there have only been a handful in the entire history of the United States where the popular vote and the electoral college didn't exactly line up. A couple more recently, for sure. I think we'd probably have to have a good few in a row. Like, for instance, the most recent one with Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Joe Biden won both the electoral college and the popular vote. So we'd probably have to have a few in a row, and it would probably have to be like so disparate, the differences. Like, you would have to win the popular vote by a good few million, and then still the other person wins the electoral college. Truly, I would be against, not against, I would be for getting rid of the electoral college. In general, I'm kind of against the concept. But yeah, we have had enough, at least so far, that we're not on that edge just yet. But if we start seeing a handful back to back in a row, we're probably on that path. So That would be my
Huh?
thoughts.
Okay. We got a super chat by Secular
Woo!
Sakai.
Thank you.
Wow, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Yeah, guys. If you guys haven't sent your Patreon questions, we also answer super chats. Secular Sakai saying, political violence grows in the U.S. Have any Canadians, voiced concerns about a large influx of Americans seeking to stay in the country? There was a South Park episode on this, building a wall between Canada and United States.
And I have both a handful of friends in Canada, as well as some family myself, as well as I have had some friends over the past couple of years that have lived their whole lives in the United States in various places and have moved. I haven't heard any from the Canadian side of people like having, big fears of a large influx of Americans. I can definitely tell you that over the last handful of years, there has been not only an uptick in searches in America for like, how do you migrate to Canada? But there also has been a slight increase, I think, in the amount of people that have gone. That's one of the things about US, Mexico, and Canada is that we actually like trade citizens all the time. Like, a bunch of people from Mexico come to the United States and a bunch of people from the United States go to Mexico every year. It's this rotating door thing, I don't think we're going to have a large amount of Americans that just like go to Canada. It's very cold up there, you guys. Like the Floridians.
Not really.
It's a lot colder than Florida. That's all.
I mean, Vancouver, at summer,
That's
you actually have to turn on the air conditioner.
That's good.
I don't know
that's
about the
good
rest of
weather.
it. Yeah. But, okay, I don't know about average people, but the government would love a huge influx of Americans come to the United States. I mean, and justifiably so. It would be better. Like, I know, like, jokes aside, and like, oh my God, Americans are coming and ruining Canada. That would be a great thing for Canada. Okay? And what I say might be controversial to say. Okay? Right now, Canada is looking for a lot of immigration. They're like really trying to bring immigrants, from many places, but it's true that Americans would be the highest. How do I say this without sounding racist?
Highest population cap per year. They would have the most
prefer them.
Yeah.
I was gonna say highest quality, but then I realized
I was gonna say value, but I thought that probably both of those words.
They're the most productive. Okay, and this is not about anything inherent about Americans. It's about the amount of money spent on Americans to get them to where they are productive. Every American, on average, is more productive than one Canadian. Okay, and probably more productive than any person anywhere in the world. Okay, and this is not just about the technology that America has. It's also about the human capital, the investment in the human capital that America has made over more effectively than many other countries in the world, right? Yeah. So given that Canada is accepting immigrants from so many places, like, I don't know, the Middle East, the Philippines, just because they want to increase those numbers, they really need to increase their population, right? Americans just willingly come in. That would be like, they would be shown the red carpet. Like, they would be like, yeah, come in. Like, Canada is actually the one reason why Canada is bringing in so much immigration from around the world is because they're losing Canadians to America. Okay, America pays more per hour than Canada. So much of Canada's top talent moves to America. So that's people coming back from America to Canada, that would be really good for Canada's economy. Okay. Usually, guys, immigration, a lot of people complain about, oh my God, people coming in, but usually the countries that are experiencing people coming into their country, that's a good thing for them. Yeah. That's like immigration coming in, you're benefiting from it. Yeah. It's very rare when that's a negative. That would be a negative outcome.
It's generally a positive sign that more people want to come to your country than leave every year. Not saying it's a 1-to-1 correlation, but if you go look at the amount of countries in the world where they're having mass migrations out of them, you can see why. So I mean, yeah,
but it's not just a good sign. It also will result in a better economy.
absolutely.
Yeah. Immigration, more immigration is usually good. That's why I'm so pro immigration, right?
Yeah, same.
Okay. Higgs Boson is asking, what do you think of Imran Khan being disqualified for running for office? As much as I don't like Imran Khan, this sounds and smells and tastes very anti-democratic. I don't think I think the reasons why they have to disqualify them, I kind of suspect it's not the actual reason why they're disqualifying him, right?
Yeah, I think this is a little bit more politically motivated than it is any actual justification. At the very least, I think the populace of Pakistan is going to see it that way. A lot of his supporters are not going to be interested in your legal code, blah blah, like fuck all that. So yeah, I don't think it's going to result in as good of a outcome as they think.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us to be like, we're anti-Islam, but we're also pro-democracy. And I know Imran Khan was supposed to be somebody that was more secular, but he leaned into the whole Islamic elements in politics as more than disappointed a whole bunch of people that were a whole bunch of secular people, including Harris Sultan, that were very much disappointed and heartbroken by how much he did that. But I think supporting democracy takes priority over us. I don't know. Like, when it comes to supporting secularism or democracy, which one takes priority for you?
Wow.
I think democracy.
Wow, that's tough, man. Yeah, God, I don't know. Because part of me says, like, okay, if we have the democracy, but it's not secular, well, it's fucked anyway. So, but then the other part of me is like, well, if we have the secularism, but it's not democratic, we're also fucked. I don't know, dude. That's actually much, much harder of a question than I was expecting to get tonight, Armin. I'm going to have to negotiate my contract again. God, I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to think on that, man. Because seriously, it's hard to know which one is more beneficial to a surviving and thriving society, right? Because it seems like both of them have lots of value, but at the same time, if you have one without the other, it seems to crumble pretty quickly. If you have a democracy but it's not secular, well, the likelihood of it getting changed into a theocracy is much stronger. And if you have secular government but it's not democratic, well, then it might as well just be an
Actually, I would
authoritarian regime.
prioritize democracy. You know why? Because I think secularism is better at stopping democracy than democracy is at stopping secularism.
I see what you. Okay, so you're saying.
I mean, secularism. Sorry, not secularism. A secular dictatorship is better at stopping democracy than a democratic religious government is at stopping secularism.
You're coming at it from an aspect of which one is more likely to grow that's really interesting. Yeah,
because I think the base of the people eventually is going to move towards. So if we have democracy but we still have religion and government, is because people haven't been enlightened yet. But I think eventually people will become enlightened, and as long as we give the people their own choice, things will eventually move in the right direction, even if at the beginning it doesn't. Okay,
I like that.
But yeah. So, but people are calling me out in the live chat. People are saying, Oxymoron is saying, but Armin, you did wish that Trump is disqualified for elections. And Sorgo is saying, yes, Armin, do you wish Trump is disqualified? Yes, for actual reasons, for legitimate reasons.
Right.
What I'm saying is that if Imran Khan, for example, was being disqualified, and the reason for his disqualification was a genuine concern, was the reason mentioned and cited was genuinely the actual reasons, and it was legally sound, then I would be like, yeah, they're just like he's being anti-democratic, and Pakistan laws has ways to remove people who are being anti-democratic, so it's completely justified, right? So I mean, I'm not for absolute democracies. I mean, I have limitations. There are limitations to the democracy. This is why a republic puts limitations to what the will of the people can do, right?
Yep.
So I would be for that. I'm just saying, I'm suspecting that what's actually happening in Pakistan is that they don't like the man, and they don't like his popularity, and they don't like his decisions. It's more about like him pissing off Americans and getting closer to Russians. Those are the actual reasons, which I think are good reasons to hate Imran Khan, actually, to be honest, right?
But not keep him from running for office. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. It's dishonest if you cite something else. And,
if you attempt to overthrow democratic government, if you actively do that, or fan the flames to do so, and it can be shown, I think that's a pretty acceptable reason to say you don't get to participate anymore. Like imagine somebody coming to a football match and like in the middle of the game, like grabbing the ball and like stabbing it and then like ripping the nets off. It'd be like, oh dude, you don't get to fucking play anymore. Like, no, but I'm a really good forward. It's like, I don't care. Like,
yeah, and Rebecca and Dee are pointing out in live chat that Trump is a criminal. Okay, I don't just support him being disqualified. The man should be in jail. Yeah. I mean, it's a failure of the system in the United States that he's not behind bars already.
We're having a tough. We're having a tough time right now in the U.S. Armin. Just no need to rub some salt in the wound. Yeah, we know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, as a Canadian, I try not to do that because I know Canadians have this habit. I honestly think it's a disgusting habit that Canadians have, acting so high and mighty and superior to Americans. There's a huge Canadian culture to piss on Americans, and a lot of people laugh at it and celebrate it. And I think come on, like you guys, you know what it is? Let me piss on Canadians a little bit, okay? It's actually an inferiority complex, okay? Canadians have an inferiority complex to Americans, so they keep trying to highlight the things that they're better at because they know that they're a small little country with very and worldwide very insignificant, and America gets so much attention and so much the power and so much technology and so much wealth, and they're just a footnote right next to their, just like act like a half of a province next to one of the states of the United States. That's what they are. Like they just like the 51st state of the United States. So their inferiority complex makes them feel like they need to keep demonstrating to the world how superior they are to Americans. And I say this as a Canadian.
Yeah, I love the little rivalry between America and Canada just because I think it's stupid and it doesn't I don't think it's ever gonna come to like an armed conflict or anything. So I love making fun of Canadians and saying that their entire country is essentially geese and moose and snow, some maple leaves too. But other than that, that's pretty much all of Canada. So American supremacist. Well,
sure. Okay. Let's do another question. Is kicking Iran out of football World Cup and bringing Ukraine a good decision? Bringing in Ukraine, is Ukraine not part of the World Cup?
I'm pretty sure it is. I don't think Ukraine was ever not involved. But I could be wrong. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't know these things. I just know enough. But I don't follow sports, but I have followed enough the news to know that this is a very difficult decision. I think FIFA has very little time to be able to move Iran out of the World Cup. I mean, this is happening in Qatar. World Cup is like happening in Qatar, right?
Yeah, very soon.
Very soon, and people have paid their tickets. And if you want to pull out Iran, a lot of people could be like, well, now I don't want to go anymore. I was like, this is false advertising. And the refund process, it just seems like a bureaucratic nightmare. But I know that Masih Alinejad has officially requested for Iran to be pulled out of the World Cup. because of the demonstrations and the revolution apparently that is happening in Iran right now, which is still continuing. By the way, it's 40 days since Mahsa Amini has been killed, and the protests are still going on continuously, and people are being shot at. And
I saw
crazy.
that recently. That was some terrible shit.
So
also, I don't know what would be the bad reason for bringing in Ukraine, for instance. I don't know why. I don't know what argument someone would have that would say, well, this is why it's bad to bring in Ukraine to the World Cup, I don't know. That being said, we kind of talked about this, I think, last show, and these organizations, FIFA as well as the International Olympic Committee, these organizations that put on these big events like this, they're not in it for the ethical reasons, right? They're not here to make a political stance or an ethical stance. They're here to make a shit ton of money, and they'll do whatever they can for that. If that means allowing individuals paid for by their regime that are actively killing their citizens, they'll take that money because it spends just the same, blood or no blood, So, I mean, that's just a realistic, view of it. So.
Yeah, and by the way, Sergio is saying it feels unfair to punish Iran athletes because of the government. No, it's not unfair because they're technically okay. So sports is considered in geopolitics as soft power. Okay, so as much as it sucks for the athletes, they are officially agents, or representatives of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And they are used as a way to further increase a country's soft power. This is a soccer team is a representative and a propaganda arm of a regime.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So in that sense, it makes complete sense like that.
That's
justified.
That's literally what every single country does. Every single country, especially when their team starts doing well, right? Or they start bringing home medals or something. And at the end of the day, I mean, maybe it is a little unfair to punish the athletes themselves. That being said, we've had this happen a bunch. I mean, the United States boycotted an Olympics years ago, back in the 70s, right? And sure, all of those people had spent their whole fucking lives learning how to throw a disc or run in a circle. I'm not diminishing it. Those people are much, much better athletes than I'll ever be. But still, yeah, you are kind of an arm of the government there in that soft power sense. So, yeah, unfortunately, if your government is a really shitty, authoritarian government, you might not get to play sports with everybody. I think that's probably a reasonable compromise, personally. But
so this question we thought I mentioned we're going to come back to this. Asian Americans saying, what are your thoughts on why are you spelling thoughts like that? Okay, that's something else, Asian American. I think you have to do that. What are your thoughts on Republicans saying America is a constitutional republic, not a democracy, and the Colorado's governor's desires to create an electoral college for the state? I have some thoughts on this. I think my thoughts are a little bit different than yours, but you go first and I'll tell you.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first part of it is just factual, to be honest. And that doesn't mean better, worse, good or bad necessarily. It does just mean that there are certain procedures and processes already in place for the United States. Honestly, me personally, I like a constitutional republic better than an outright democracy, because kind of the point of a constitutional republic is that some populist jackass can't come in and say, now no more black people in the country, and I'm glad that we protect the minorities in the country, or at least, again, that's supposedly what our government is founded to do. Colorado is one of those weird states in the United States, for sure. They're one of those ones that there's always something a little bit different that they're doing than the rest of the country. Again, I said earlier, I'm not really for an electoral college on the federal level. I don't know how I would be for it on the state level either, because I couldn't imagine that it would be much different at all. So, not really for an electoral college. We are technically a constitutional republic. I would say a good portion of the GOP is taken by Christian nationalism, and they are cool with the theocracy. But that's, another story.
So I don't agree actually with the way the first part is mentioned. So you guys, I mentioned, so a whole bunch of people in the live chat also said this, that the United States is not a democracy, it's a constitutional republic. This is not actually, it's not mutually exclusive. I think what you guys mean is that United States is a constitutional republic. It's not an absolute democracy.
Yes.
Okay. So it is it is, every republic is technically a democracy. It's just not an absolute democracy.
Yes.
Being democratic, it's a spectrum. Okay. And one end of it is absolute democracy, and it's not just United States that is not an absolute democracy. There is no such thing as an absolute democracy. We never had an absolute democracy. Even in ancient Greek, when people say like, oh, we had an absolute democracy in ancient Greek, no, you didn't. Women couldn't vote. Like slaves couldn't vote. So we never had it, and it's never, we don't have it now. We never had it ever in history. Okay. So a constitutional republic is supposed, every republic is supposed to put a limitation on how democratic a country is, because you don't want to have mob rule. You don't want to have the dictatorship of the majority where everything the majority says goes. You want to introduce a limitation. Okay. And when you say constitutional republic, do you mean that the limitation is written in your constitution? Okay. But I think more important than saying it's a constitutional republic, I think it's better to qualify what kind of limitations you're introducing by saying that it's a liberal republic. Okay. It's a liberal democracy. A liberal democracy is almost a contradiction, but it's meant to be a contradiction because one is limiting the other one. So a liberal democracy is a democracy that the democratic elements have been limited by liberalism. Liberalism goes against democracy, okay? Because liberalism tells you that certain things are not up for vote. For example, minority rights are not, women rights are not up for vote, right? And that's how it should be. That's how it should be. But again, it is, United States is a democracy. It's just not an absolute democracy. So don't say go ahead.
What if instead of saying United States is a democracy, United States has liberal democratic values as a constitutional republic? Because I think when you broke it down a second ago, I think that's really good understanding of it.
Okay, yeah. One of them is a democracy. It's a feature. The structure is when you call it like it's a monarchy or a republic or an absolute democracy. That's when you're talking about the structure. So, but democracy is like a feature that you have a little bit of it, a lot of it, maximum amount of it.
I like that kind of thought on it. I like that kind of view of it. I think it gives it it's a better understanding, I think.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, fuck the electoral college just to drive that. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, you know a lot more about that than I do. I haven't been studying that much. I just know what the arguments from both sides are. One of them is like, oh, look, this is not the will of the people, it's not the majority. The other side is like, but if we make it the majority, no one's gonna care about these states. Okay.
There's obviously a middle ground, and the individuals who wrote the Constitution, a good few of them express that very specifically in the Federalist Papers. And if you really want a good understanding of how the Constitution came to be and what the arguments were for it, that is the place to go, the Federalist Papers. So
my understanding is that it's not about making sure making it fair. My understanding is that this was just a power play like people had in negotiations. You just wanted to make sure that these people were not going to satisfy certain
13 different countries all coming together, sending their representatives saying, we really don't want to work with you, but we also dislike Britain more. So how do we not kill each other, but still retain our power? So yeah, a lot of compromises, a lot of bullshit.
Well, good luck with changing that.
Yeah, no, we're doing. Yeah, but like I said, we're having a tough time right now in the U.S.
Okay, Higgs boson is asking, how are rights of a concubine different from that of a wife in Islam? Why did Ottoman sultans prefer to have concubines over wives? Well, one of them is free, the other one is a slave.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty easy
free-ish.
distinction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a slave, at least. not
a
an
slave.
outright slave. Right.
She can own property, for example. Like one of them can own property, the other one can't. Okay?
In Islam, a woman can receive inheritance, right? She can receive, whereas a concubine just would be inherited. So
yes,
I think that's
exactly. One of them has the right to, yeah, that's pretty good. One of them has the right to own, the other one is owned. That's the difference. Okay. Yeah. The second part is actually tied to the first part. Why would you prefer concubines? Because they're not free. They can't say no to you. They can't do. Oh yeah, for example, your wife in Islam, unlike what some people think, your wife can say no to you when you want to have sex with her. She just is told that, okay, fine, but you're going to be cursed by angels till morning. Okay, so technically she can still refuse to have sex with you. A concubine can't. Right. If you want to have sex with your concubine, there's no options for her to say no. That's the difference, and that's why they're more popular.
And there's no prescription on a limit, right, with concubines, whereas with wives
you can have only 4 of.
There you go.
Female
only 4
sex slaves you could female sex slaves you could have unlimited number. I'm okay with you having 4 wives. That's fine, as long as you could have 4 husbands.
I agree with you there. All for that. Totally. I'm poly myself, so I'm a big fan of all of that. So, but I mean, I can easily see why Ottoman sultans preferred concubines to wives.
Yeah. Oh, another thing is that wives wear the hijab. Concubines don't. Concubines can walk around topless.
So you get all that temptation all the time. You get all that, man.
Yeah, because your wife is also your status and your honor, family purity, and all that, right? That's why you cover them, right? A sex slave, you don't need to cover them because another man, like if another man is being tempted by your wife, this is dishonor, okay? Like, oh my God, this is bringing dishonor to my family. That's why you cover your wife, okay? But if another man likes your wife, likes your concubine, like, okay, like, how much you gonna offer? Like, that's good. Like, of course, I want you to look at my sex slaves because I could sell them for the profit. Like, I want you to be tempted by my sex slaves.
Man, can you believe there are still people out there right now that would listen to everything you just said and been like, right on, Armin, you got it, man. Bring back concubines. Like, oh my God, people.
Asian American is disgusted.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Owning people specifically to fuck them is against their will is terrible.
Oh, and did you know that white female slaves were a lot more expensive than black ones?
You know, I mean, it's not like there are verses in the Quran that, kind of hint at like racism or anything, like how white skinned people are better than darker skinned people. That wouldn't be in there or in the Bible or in
Judaism. I don't think it's about the Quranic verses. I honestly think it's just like
it's just the
they
preference.
Just look better they just find them more attractive. Like technically you could be not very rich and afford to buy a black sex slave, just to have around for fun, right? But you have to be like a rich guy to be able to buy like a white slave. Wow. Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting piece of.
Oh yeah, and also, Higgs boson is right. They treated their black slaves a lot. Like your female, both male and your white female and male sex slaves in general. You wouldn't want their bodies to be damaged. You know what I mean? You wouldn't sell them doing grueling work. you wouldn't send them in the field or in the mine or anything like that, because like they're precious. You don't want to keep them. Like, by the way, YouTube, this is not my opinions. I just wanted to like, this is like, oh
not
my God,
in
we're gonna get a strike.
not in favor of these things.
You're not in favor. I'm just telling you how things, the history of slavery.
Yep.
And here's another thing, you know, let me also say something because we're like, Muslims are correct to point out that as bad as the slave trade was among the Muslims and Arabs at the time, the North Atlantic slave trade was a lot worse.
Yeah.
And the South one was even worse than all that, right? Like they didn't sell them like cattle like that, putting it on ships. Like they were, I mean, it's still bad, it's slavery, but they weren't treated like animals in the way that it was done in North and South America. Like they actually were kind of lived semi-decent lives like a human being would, you know, but still horrible.
You can do wrong things in multiple degrees of cruelty and shittiness, and for some reason some people decided to go real shitty on the slavery thing. So but
the worst one was the South American one, but I think the second worst one was the North one.
And we don't talk about that in North America much at all. Literally, when we teach that in most public schools, it goes like this. We go, so then there was this thing where like the Americas and like Africa and Europe all traded and stuff, and there were some slaves, and you know, a lot of them went to South America, but we're not going to talk about them. We're just going to keep moving on. It's like, oh, okay, well. Literally hundreds of millions of people.
This is why you shouldn't publish all your school books in Texas. For some reason, you guys decided to do that.
Armin, have I mentioned that we're having a tough time?
Okay, I'm sorry. Wow, we got a $20 super chat by Secular Sakai. Thank you so much. This is very generous. Secular Sakai saying, do you think the Ukrainian attempt to recognize the Chechen Republic of, how do you pronounce this? Ichkeria, as a country temporarily occupied by Russia, this last week will be signed by President Zelensky or recognized internationally? I haven't actually heard about this. Have you heard about this?
I have not either. I was intrigued by this as well, because I would say on the face of it, this would seem like a bad thing to do, right? If the Ukrainian military went into this section of Chechnya is its own country. It's an internationally recognized country. So if they went in and just put a bunch of troops there and then said we're going to make it its own country, that would not be something I would be for, because
I don't think they're sending troops. I think he's suggesting that they just want to make it official, right?
Oh, just that the Ukrainian government may just be backing a particular movement in that area of that country.
I'm not seeing any news on this. That's why I haven't noticed it.
It's very
okay. I haven't seen any news on this.
Chechnya is very, very tied with the Russian government. I mean, right? Like that's.
I mean, it is part of Russia.
Oh, is it? I thought it was its. Is it just like an autonomous region? I thought it was like its own.
It has its own autonomy, but it is like officially still,
technically. Yeah.
Hold on. Chechen. Wait. Here. Chechnya, officially the Chechen Republic, is a republic of Russia.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So I don't agree with Zelensky here. I think Zelensky this seems like a really bad idea, because this is the moment where you want to really, really support border integrity and international law, given that the existence of your entire country right now depends on them. This is not a time for you to go out and challenge, establish, and recognize borders by the United Nations, because what is holding your country together is the international community coming in as a whole and accepting that questioning borders is not a good idea. That is that principle is why your country is being defended right now. So you shouldn't be going around and challenging other borders at this moment. This is my opinion. If that's what's happening.
Yeah, I right with you, man. Because again, it's one of those moments you don't want to be like, you don't want to be setting a house on fire while telling somebody else not to set a house on fire. It's just not a good look at the very least, right? But also, this policy is something I don't think we should allow on an international stage, because we should be past the point at which we think the right way to gain more territory for a country is to go kill the citizens of another country and literally take it. That's just
I mean,
not.
I don't think he's suggesting an attack or anything like that. I just think he's just like, let me stir some stuff. Yeah,
That's fair.
Sorgo is saying, yeah,
That's
Sorgo is
fair.
saying sounds like Zelensky is trying to make friends with common enemies. Like, yeah, I mean, if it's out of desperation, it's trying to like stir something up there for Russia to have to deal with. I can understand that, but I just think long term for right, not
Yeah.
even long term, like even just a little bit
Yeah.
longer time horizon, it might seem like a bad idea. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Kenny's saying, but that's not what they're saying.
I
I
think
know
I
that's
think
what there's.
I
Yeah.
think that was in reference to me. He's talking about military coming in specifically.
Oh,
But
okay.
I think in either situation, you still are on shaky ground, right? You're now
Yeah.
allowing for the international community to just take territory from other people kind of willy-nilly. I don't know that that's the best thing that we want to promote. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Oh, Kenny confirms that. Yeah, that's what he was referring to. Okay, we answered that one. Let's go to this one. Why is the Biden administration trying to interfere in Elon Musk Twitter deal? Shouldn't government stay away from private matters? So let me bring this up. Let's see what actually happened. I mean, sometimes private matters has geopolitical consequences.
for
So
sure.
Biden administration weighs security review of Musk Twitter deal. Yeah, I mean, if it's a security review, there are some things that are actually have a real effect on national security, and I think the government
Mhm.
has a right to come in and check in how that's going to affect them. I
And true.
mean, I understand the fear of that power could be overused. Like everything could be a national security matter if you want it to be. Like if the definition of that. But I mean, I think in a country where there's checks and balances, and you can't just redefine things as a security issue every time you want to actually meddle in people's private affairs,
Yeah.
then in that country, I think it could be legitimate for a country to be like, okay, no, this is an actual security matter.
And truly, it was just a coincidence of time more than anything. Had this happened under the Trump administration, the Obama administration, any of the Bushes, Reagan, Carter, literally going all the way back to Teddy Roosevelt back in the early 1900s, if this would have happened under any of those presidents, the exact same procedure would have occurred, because since then the United States government has actively been getting itself involved with large transactions and business dealings like this. Also, let's just remember, countries love their taxes, right? Governments love their taxes. This is supposed to be worth like 50 some odd billion fucking dollars worth of a deal. Of course the government is going to be paying attention. They want their 10%, man. So like,
well, they're saying this is a security issue. So
yeah.
let's see what they're saying. Biden administration officials are discussing whether the United States should subject some of Elon Musk's ventures to national review, including the deal for Twitter Inc. and SpaceX's Starlink satellite network. Bloomberg News report. Okay, the SpaceX chief in recent times, I don't care. Okay, in recent time has taken to Twitter to announce proposals to end Russia's war. I don't care about this one. I care about the Twitter one. An element of Musk's 44 billion Twitter deal, which could trigger a CFIUS review, is the presence of foreign investors in Musk consortium, Bloomberg said. Okay, yeah, I mean, if the people who are buying Twitter are going to be a lot of foreign elements that could basically have a say, have a direction in what a lot of like a major portion of conversations and speech is happening on Twitter. Like of the world, a big portion of that is on Twitter. So if a few elements have a few foreign elements are going to have a say over policies that could realign the direction of what these conversations are going to go, this is going to be a huge propaganda tool that a lot of foreign governments might have on this American platform. So I can see why that would be a concern. Go on.
So I agree with that assessment. I would say that my guess would be that this is a little bit more. Your assessment as to why the government would need to do that security risk, totally agree with that. I would say that the United States government is probably not being as honest and serious on this because of the fact that we have such large foreign investment in so many other spaces. I mean, right? Trump talked about this during his presidency, that he was going to ban TikTok.
But those got reviewed too.
Well, no. That's, yeah, but what I'm saying is, ultimately, while that may be what they are saying is the reason, I think at the end of the day, they would still go through this process, whether or not that was the case. And I don't believe that will probably end up making this deal unable to go through, is what is kind of where.
Yeah, I know, but I understand why something like this needs to be reviewed.
And I agree with that assessment for sure, especially with him, being involved so heavily with NASA and putting things into space, specifically satellites, and tracking them and so forth. Absolutely, this is just standard boilerplate procedure, honestly.
Yeah.
So
it says the consortium of the people who are buying Twitter with Elon Musk. The group includes Saudi Arabian investor Prince Al Walid bin Talal, and what? Binance is also. Oh my god, yeah, Binance is going to be involved. Oh my god,
yeah,
which was founded in Shanghai. Yeah, I mean they're gonna.
Yeah,
I think it's good that they're reviewing it.
Yeah, for sure. And again, honestly, this is something that is just standard. This isn't outside of the norm. I don't think anybody that has been watching this that knows about business deals like this or government involvement in business and so forth, like, I would think pretty much everybody would agree that this makes total sense and they were expecting it. So.
Yeah, okay. I'm actually pissed a little bit. Okay, I have to come back to it. Sorry, I didn't mean to say okay in the middle of your speech. But look at this. They're saying this is actually, now I'm a little bit pissed. Binance, which was founded in Shanghai, this is a bit Chinaphobic, I think.
Oh yeah.
What do you think?
Oh yeah. I mean, what they're trying to say is, ew, it's a Chinese company. Yeah.
Because it's Binance. It's the least. This is like a least in line with Chinese policy government that I could think of. Mm-hmm. The fact that it's like, oh, Binance. Okay, what's the issue with Binance? It was founded in Shanghai. Like the Chinese music playing after. Like, you just see like, oh, what are they up to? Are they like part of the CCP? Are they going to be like, what the hell? You just buy it. This is like, I don't know. This is a crypto company. What are you talking about? They themselves are more concerned with CCP ruling over what, I don't know. I think it feels a little bit Chinaphobic, guys. Not everything that comes out of China is like the CCP. Can we agree with that? Maybe we should I have had the similar reaction with the Saudi prince? Maybe I'm out of touch that I'm not having that same like, oh, it's a Saudi prince. I mean, it's literally a prince. So I think that's like already kind of governmental.
That's what I was going to say. I think there's probably a little bit better of a reason to make the connection between somebody that is a Saudi Arabian prince being not so great because of, that government, as opposed to just saying, hey, this business was founded in China and China's government sucks, right? I would say there's a bit of a distance. Yeah. So
okay. Yeah, I felt disgusted a little bit there. Yeah. It was a bit, which was based in Shanghai. Oh no, Shanghai. Oh, we got 2 super chats. Trenex379, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. It says, do you gentlemen support mandatory paternity testing for all newborn infants in the developed world in an effort to prevent misattributed paternity? What does that look like? What does that mean?
It sounds like they're saying that there is enough of a problem of individuals not actually being the biological father of their child. I would push back and say, and so that everybody's required to get them so that we don't have that problem. I would just argue that's not a problem. So no, I would not support mandatory paternity tests. I don't have a problem with people wanting to get them, but no,
Why not
it's
make it voluntarily?
yeah. We should always offer it to people. I don't have any problem with that, but no, it's not a
What's the
problem.
cost with making it mandatory, though?
Violating the autonomy of individuals.
Yes. Also a major cost.
Yeah, money. I'm sure it costs money, but yeah, truly, at the end of the day, I am not in any way, shape, or form concerned that there is a wave of fathers not getting their babies. So
doesn't seem like it's not so widespread that it requires like forcing this upon society.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Show me the data. I'm happy to change my mind, but I just don't think it's a. I don't think it's a thing.
I also have a hot take. I think most people are not going to agree with. But I'm also gonna say, oh no, you're scared. I also think, like, is it that bad that you took the wrong baby? I mean, you think it's their baby. Like, is your DNA really that special? Like,
are you gonna be a good parent who loves and supports that child and try to give them the best life? Yeah, kind of don't care if it's your egg and sperm or not, but hey.
I honestly, like, if my significant other, I'm like, didn't care about it, I would even be like, you want to have mine, I'll have yours. Like, I don't, yeah, sure. Like, I would switch right there. Like, who cares? Like
there is.
I don't really think my DNA is that special. If we feel like, oh my god, this shares my DNA, so it's my property. Like it's just guys. It's not magic. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, it may feel magical in that moment, but some post-nut clarity hopefully will temper your excitement.
Yeah. I will, like, on the day, like, when I go to the hospital to pick up, like, I would, like, just give me one of them. I don't really care. Like,
I'll just take that one. That one looks quiet. That's terrible. That's terrible. Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh wait. Another super chat by Gasian American. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat, saying a Shanghainese American. Oh, Gasian American is Shanghainese. American FD's Jin. I don't know what this is. Ji Ning Bai Se. Did I just swear? I don't
know. That's why I didn't say it out loud. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure.
I'm sure I mispronounced it badly enough that it didn't end up being a swear.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go through these faster. I read this already. Let me actually do an Gasian American. Gasian American is asking, Uber and Airbnb had cheap costs in the beginning due to upfront capital investment, meaning they were operating at a loss. Was this anti-competition capitalist behavior? I like how, first of all, anti-competition doesn't mean it's capitalist. It's the opposite. You guys don't understand capitalists, okay? If it's anti-competition, means it's violating capitalism. Capitalism wants more competition, okay? So, and it's also, it could be anti-competition, but not enough for it to be illegal. For something anti-competition to be illegal, it needs to be like price fixing or colluding as a unit. Companies that are supposed to be in competition with each other coming together and making like decisions that will reduce the competition, the most famous of which is price fixing. That is to the degree that a government could come and say, like, yeah, you can't do that, sorry, there's a big fine here now for you, okay, and we're going to make an example out of you so that nobody else does that. But if you want to reduce your prices to the point where you make it more difficult for your competitor, actually, that's technically competition. That's not anti-competition, because you're demonstrating that you are so good at your business that you could provide a service to your customers at a very, very low price. So that's actually competition, that you're showing your superiority in a way to get them go bankrupt. So
do you think there is an aspect to capitalism as a whole that incentivizes individual actors, the businesses, to push more in that anti-competition vein as opposed to other economic systems? Does that make sense, by the way?
No, because other economic models actually have anti-competition built within them.
Okay.
Right? Like it has like, oh, this is the government, like, oh, this is the price. This is the like, yeah, like we all agreeing on this goddamn price. That's actually like the government is not only stopping collusion, it's actually providing you the best method of colluding together, right? So it's very anti-competitive. Capitalism has anti-competitions solutions built within it, right? So that's how it is. You know, the only you know when companies come in and give such cheap prices that at a loss, you might be like, oh, that's unfair to the other companies, but it's really good for the customers. Like this is
as long as they don't end up taking over the market and then inflating the prices again. As long as they don't do that, it works well for the
that's
the
where anti-monopoly, you need to have strong anti-monopoly. If they are successful into bankrupting all their competition, okay, then they become a monopoly, and then the government like, hey, congratulations, now we're gonna tear you apart. So there's that. I think I don't think the United States has enough anti-monopoly. I mean, that's
I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
You're a little bit further on the capitalism vein than I am, but yeah, I'm definitely, people will hear me, argue and say some, things about those big bad businesses and so forth, and they'll be like, all right, so you're communist, man. Heck yeah, high five. And I'm like,
hey, I understand. As much as people, like, when I defend capitalism, people keep saying like, oh, but capitalism has problems. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of them. It's just like there's no better alternative. That's my point. Like, it's not like capitalism is like problem free. There's a lot of problems with capitalism, but like, show me a better alternative. Okay. Let's go. Wait, let's do an oxymoron question. Oxymoron is asking, why is it wrong to blame Election Commission of US for pushing unreliable, non-uniform, outdated election framework ranging from 20th century style manual counting of ballot papers to digital centralized networks that are extremely vulnerable to manipulation?
Okay, oxymoron. I'm not entirely positive that what I'm going to respond to is actually what you're saying. But if what you're saying is that the US is going from one system to any other system that you agree is extremely vulnerable to manipulation, if the new system is more vulnerable to manipulation than the old system, however shitty it was, it probably would probably the newer system would be worse. I think we should blame governments in that sense. But I think Oxymoron just said in the chat, don't do this question. I deleted it. So
okay.
Well, that's fine. We still answered it. Hopefully it was.
We did. You can't stop us.
That was a bonus question.
Yes. Okay. D is saying political scientist Martin Gillens of Princeton University and Benjamin Page of Northwestern University studied some 2,000 opinion polls over the last 20 years and recently concluded that the opinions of 90% of Americans have essentially no impact on lawmaking at all. This reflects the situations of abortion and gun control, of which the vast majority support, and yet here we are. Your thoughts? Was there a challenge to this study, or was this?
I don't know. I don't know about this study. I don't know about a challenge to it or anything. I can tell you that this wouldn't exactly surprise me if we ultimately were able to determine that the average individual in the United States doesn't really have that much political power or capital. One of the biggest reasons, in my opinion, that the United States has been having such a problematic time with its elections and the laws not actually reflecting what the average person wants is due to the various structures in place to keep our government running well. Those structures have been purposefully hijacked and implemented in a way where they are not representative of the people. Gerrymandering has been a massive, massive problem in our country, to the point that on election night, before the polls even open, you can just go ahead and declare the winners for a shit ton of races, because either A, there is literally no way for the amount of people in that particular voting district to ever vote that person out, because of the fact that the voting districts have been broken up or combined together and so forth, or B, because of the fact that there is literally no other person running. So again, just taking this at face value, I can say that, yeah, the biggest reason that wouldn't surprise me is because of that type of stuff that has been going on. The GOP in the United States had this plan all the way back in 2010. And that was why they were able to implement it so well, by getting elected to local and state various positions, governmental positions. They were able to completely redistrict the voting throughout the states, and that ultimately has been a huge detriment to actually having a government that is reflective of the people's values.
Okay, I want to provide an alternative
Yeah.
hypothesis. Okay, I think like as much as what you're saying is true, I think this 90%, if it's true, because I know it was challenged, if it is true, I think it's largely, well, not largely, I don't know, a good portion of it is because of the people, not because of, I mean, the election structure might suck and makes it a little bit less, it makes it less democratic. But what do you think about the fact that a lot of Americans have views, but they're not politically active,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, what do you want? Like, I want weed to be legal. Or like, well, have you voted? I'm like, what? No. And I'm like, okay, so whose fault is that, right? So maybe a lot of that 90% is that, like, oh, what is your opinion? Okay, these are my opinions, but you're not. Maybe that 10% is the 10. Like, it's not just because lobbyists. It's that 10% is also American citizens who actually do something about their opinions. Okay, so maybe that's what another reason.
That's a
And
huge problem. Voter apathy is a huge problem in the United States. So
yeah,
totally.
so it might not just be just because of the structure, because the United States
Yeah.
is as much of a problem that the the electoral structure has. It is one of the most democratic countries in the world, right? It is, the structure is makes it able for people to make their decisions more than a good chunk of other countries, right? I know it has flaws, right? But people get to decide more than, I don't know, like,
Yeah.
you know, Bangladesh or Iran or whatever.
Sure.
Another problem might be that a lot of the people who are politically active, even those people, vote in line of the people they like or the tribe they belong to, rather than policies, right? So
We do that a
maybe,
lot. We do that a
yeah,
lot. Yeah. We vote against our actual beliefs because we like the color or the letter next to the person's party. So yeah.
yeah. Or maybe you like Trump, and maybe even if he has said or has policies that you don't really stand for, you just like the guy, so you vote for the guy, or you just vote for the guy because you're a Republican. So again, in that situation, the polls might suggest like, oh, this is what you want, but your voting is going to be different from what you actually say in the polls that you want. So that's another explanation that I think might be.
Just real quick, because I started typing it and I just realized how long it's going to be for me to type. But Kenny in the chat had asked, what do we do to fix it? My first thought on that, and this is what I say in these instances, is mandatory bipartisan redistricting. So a neutral commission that specifically is designed so that it is not to be from one side or the other. A couple of states have implemented stuff like this. I think Colorado is one of the most recent. And they have started to see a shift in their state and local laws that are more reflective of the individuals that actually live in that area. The reason I think that would be really beneficial to fixing this problem is because once we are actually having the people in our area represent us that do reflect our values, those values will start to change towards the values that we seem as a collective to agree more on. For instance, both right before and after the recent decision on Roe v. Wade, about 2/3 of the country agreed with the original decision. They did not think that the law should be changed either way. They didn't think it should be expanded further in pregnancy. They didn't think it should be cut short in pregnancy. So if we actually vote in people that, you know, are actually representing our values, I think we'll start to see that shift. So that's just my thoughts. I'm not a political scientist, so
Those are very good thoughts for somebody who's not a political scientist.
I'll be running for office in 2 years. Kidding.
All right, let's do another Higgs boson question. Higgs boson is asking, which one of the two scenarios would you choose? South Azerbaijan separates from Iran and joins Azerbaijan Republic, or the whole Azerbaijan becomes part of Iran? Oh my God, they both violate international laws and norms and recognition of the borders of these countries. So I don't like either one of these. Okay, I'm just gonna go with South Azerbaijan. Again, these are both horrible choices, but I'm just gonna go with South Azerbaijan separating from Iran and joining Azerbaijan, just to piss off Iranian nationalists.
I was gonna be more charitable. I was gonna say, because you don't want more more human beings that are under that horrible authoritarian thumb of the Iranian.
No.
You just wanted to make them angry. I got it.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. I appreciate that. It's that honesty that keeps me coming back.
Yeah. No, I just feel cringe over like, oh, Iran got bigger. Like I could just hear the sound of so many Iranian nationalists jerking off over the fact that Iran just got bigger. And I'm just like, nope, I do not like that. Just like, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I don't like that, but the Azerbaijan's joining together and just becoming, people are like, oh, that's great because this is now a country that has the part of me that is disgusted by the other side is that people like the people that think this is a good idea because now Azeris are joining Azeris and people of the same ethnicities belong
Ethno-nationalism.
Together. Yeah, I hate that. I'm like, so great. Like now you all have the same country, like the ethno-state nonsense. Yeah, either way, it's horrible.
Yeah, real good job, Higgs boson. Way to give us two really shitty options.
All right, let's do an oxymoron question. Random question. Should husband be able to sue wife for breach of contract if she opts for abortion? No. No. No.
I mean, if for whatever reason you decided to engage in a contractual thing like that, where you said that you would, but even then, like I don't know that would actually hold. I don't know that you could have a contract like that in court, at least in the United States. I don't know that you could do that. You can't technically in the United States, for instance, like, and a lot of countries around the world, you're not allowed to like agree to let somebody kill you. You know what I'm saying? So like,
but you can agree to
do things for somebody, right?
Using your body.
Yes, because we do have surrogacy and so forth. Absolutely. So
I think you're right. If you decide to put that in the contract,
then
I think it should be yes.
Right. But like, in general,
as it stands, marriage contracts do not have that in them, and for good reason. Okay? Or if we're saying, okay. But if you guys put that, only if you should be able to sue your wife only if for some weird reasons you guys decided to get together and make that into a contract.
Which, I mean, I guess two consenting adults engaging in the contract. Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, that should be allowed. So, yeah, but why would you be able to? So, oxymoron, you're asking us, should a husband be able to sue for something that was not in the contract? Because marriage. You're saying, should we put that in marriage contracts? Like, no, we shouldn't. Why would you? You should make marriage easier and less restrictions, not more restrictions.
I do kind of like your idea about the, hey, this automatically expires 5 years from now, like you have to renew it type thing. I think there are some problems, but at the same time,
At
I
least
think
make it an option.
I think
Okay.
I think it's not bad. Like I said, it's not bad.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not saying make marriages like that. I'm just saying like you could just tell people like which type
That's
of
an
marriage
option,
you
yeah.
want. And people are like, wait, types of kind of marriage culture? Like, yeah, we have ones that stay forever and ones that you have to renew every 5 years.
Temporary marriage.
And honestly, the renewal process is very easy. The renewal process is you just going out and
You
being
both
like
just
signing.
thumbs up and sign the contract again. It's
Yeah,
just like,
there
hey,
you
we're just keeping this shit going for a little bit
Yeah.
longer. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Makes divorce process a lot easier. Yeah. All right. Gasian American is saying King Shua Huang unify. I don't know. Huang. Where's that H there? Unify the Chinese writing into a single version of glyphs. Would a unified universal Muhammad turmoil be upon him? Why you talk like this, Gasian? Glyphs emoji to unify the variant spellings be considered haram or halal? I mean, there's already that already exists. The Arabic grammar is based on the Quran, which unifies the whole thing. So we already have that. Well, you're saying the variants. No, the variants. The understanding by Muslims is that the variants are there on purpose because of different people have different dialects. But then, if you notice that actually it's beyond just having different dialects, they're like now the new excuse is that the different variants in the Quran have all different messages as a whole. They complete a unified message. That's the trick, and that actually shows how great of a miracle the Quran is.
And
That
very
it's like-
clear, very clear
Very-
book, unambiguous.
Yes. But no, but that's really good. But you can't. It would be very haram for you for you as a human to mess with any of these things. So you can't change anything. Yeah. It's the word of God. You can't decide for anything for it. Okay, Gasian American. Okay, the last three questions are Gasian American. So please help us. As artificial wombs advance, should the U.S. federal government create a frozen strategic embryo reserve to guard against biological warfare and gene modification trends, or is this giving eugenics? Or is this eugenics? I think you mean. No, I don't think you should protect gene. No, I think I think it should be open source. I think DNA and all of that. It's not that special, guys. Your genes are not that special. Okay, you're not that special. You as a whole are not that special. Let alone your genes. Okay, you're not. Oh my God, people are so in love with their DNA.
I also think we're and understandably so, as humans, we're very enamored with our human DNA stuff, and we're like, this is pretty great. Like, fuck those monkeys over there. We killed it as being humans. We'll never be better than this. When in reality, like, what's kind of the whole thing about like evolution? Like, there really is no there's no like end goal for evolution. It just does what's best for the environment, right? And so, why not let us evolve? Like, what if we evolve into like super beings? Like, that'd be really cool. Like, indestructible bones. We're one mutation away from having essentially indestructible bones. That's pretty cool. I'd take that. I'd freaking take that. Like,
that would be cool. We used to have bones in our dicks, and we lost.
Yeah. Polar bears still have dick bones. So
most
just
animals,
fun. Yeah, fun fact for everybody. Just
yeah. We got screwed over that.
Yeah, I mean, that's okay. We invented Viagra, and you got 4 hours before you got to call the doc. So,
people in the live chat are saying they are special. Okay, yes, you specifically,
Yes.
not Muhammad in the live chat. You are special, not anyone else, but you are. Okay, why do you spell stuff like this? We told him to keep things shorter, and he's like, this is why he's spelling good like this. What would you say are the similarities, differences between women burning their bras in America in the 60s and women burning their hijab in Iran? Should American what is that? How do you pronounce that?
Fem-coded
Fem code
citizens.
coded citizens free their tit and desexualized breasts as they were done in pre-colonial equatorial nations. Okay, I think these are completely separate issues. Okay, um, I understand that. I completely am in favor of women be able to be bare chested or even completely nude. I think like there's nothing. I think clothing should not be a legal matter for both men or women. Okay. Um, However, this is like not in the line of priorities when it comes to what's happening in Iran. Women who are taking off their hijab, this is not about the right for them to be without the hijab. Okay. I mean, they want that. Okay. But taking off the hijab is is so much more than fighting for the right to not cover. The hijab in Iran symbolizes many things beyond just the hijab. That the taking off the hijab and burning it in Iran, it's about toppling the government. And that the hijab is the government's signature. It represents the Islamic Republic of Iran. And also the women in Iran, it's true that the uprising in Iran is being led by women, but it's not about women. It's about everybody. It's about the discrimination and oppression on everybody in Iran. The Iranian government oppresses and discriminates against many groups, but the biggest groups are the women, so they are representing all forms of discrimination in Iran just because they're the biggest group. But they're not fighting for women; they're also fighting for Kurdish men, or or Baha'is, or the Christians, or everybody, or who's suffering for the economic conditions, or anybody that has lost any form of freedom, not just the freedom to not have their job. So they're representative of everything else that is going. That's the reason why they're leading away, not because this is by women for women. Okay, it's by everyone, led by women for everyone.
Yeah, can't add anything to that aspect of it. Totally with you. But the second question there, Gajan, yeah, totally, I'm with that. Free the nipple. So it's ridiculous in my opinion. Now, I don't think that equates to we're allowed to just walk nude wherever the hell we want, right? Because you don't have
okay.
well, you don't have a right to subject other people in public space that don't want to see that, right? Like I think it's okay that we have separated spaces, right? Where we're not just taking shits in the public in front of people, like.
Yeah, but I think the sensitivity that we have over nude bodies is a illogical one.
I agree,
Because
totally agree. But we should still protect the rights of the individuals who want to be able to go to the grocery store without seeing naked people, right? We should
yeah,
have
but
some
what
middle
about
ground.
right? But what about the right of Muslim men not wanting to see your hair?
So specifically from a secular understanding, the reason would be that that's a religious understanding, right? So from the concept of a secular government, you would say,
What
well,
if
we
men
can't
say
accept
that I'm
that.
just aroused? Like, okay, beyond religion, I'm just aroused. I don't want to be aroused when I go to the market. I don't want to be aroused by your face. I don't want to be aroused by your hair. Cover
So
up.
it's the line of how far do you get to swing your fist, right? You are allowed to swing your fist in public. You can ball up your hand and just swing it any way you want, but when you're
Well, same thing.
negatively in affecting other people, and the only thing I would say there is that the argument that I'm being negatively affected because I see your hair or I see your elbow is different from I see your genitals. Does that
Yeah,
make
I just
sense?
don't. Yeah, I know, but I just think the distinction is something that we just got used to it, but it doesn't.
That's interesting, because I would agree on a like an individual societal level with you. I would agree that, like, yeah, we all shouldn't be so damn prudish, and we all have bodies, we should be comfortable with them, but I don't know on the legislative side that I'm willing to go that
Yeah,
far.
I don't think the society is ready for that. But I'm just
Mhm.
noticed. I just wanted to say, like, the idea that we're like, well, obviously is different. We just accept that without having any reason for it. We just have
Just
been norm. It just has been We just have been conditioned to think like, well, this is very different. I'm like, well, it's just a human body.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from on the principle side of it, and yeah, would probably totally agree. Yeah, on the legislative side, I think is where it gets a little funky. But yeah, me personally, I mean, just not trying to put any images in people's head or anything, but I'm naked most of the time at my house. So
D is saying those men should stay home, Armin. The whole world doesn't have to change for you. D, that's my point, but not just for the face and hair. I'm just making that the exact same point that you're making for the entire body, right? I'm just saying if you come out nude as a woman and a man says, I don't like that, this is arousing me, I would say that when you say that to a person who says that because of seeing your face, I would say that to another man who says that about saying your whole body nude.
So what if it's not arousal, but it's discomfort and
what if I'm discomfort by seeing handicapped people or homeless people?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, because again, on principle, I think I'm more on your side. On the legislative aspect of it, I think I'm a little bit further, and that could just honestly be a contradiction in my head. That could just be cognitive dissonance that I need to look at a little bit more. So it's interesting stuff. We always get into good stuff here. So hey, like the fucking video, by the way.
Yeah, like guys, like
these kinds of conversations, we have them all the time. So show us some love.
Yeah, thank you, and subscribe if you haven't. All right, last question before we bring people up. Actually, before I read it, let me post the link to the community tab. We're only gonna give you like a few minutes to come up before we end the stream if nobody comes up. Okay, so come up and talk to us live on air. But yeah, guys, if you come up, you can't. It's not just you coming up and giving your opinions. Okay, you have to come up and ask a question really fast, and then leave and it's just like ask a question and then go. All right, so I'm gonna post the link to only chat. So now the link is available for only our YouTube members on the community tab. If you want to come up and talk to us, but we will only have a short window of opportunity for you to come. All right. So Gagin American saying, as oil prices rise, a friendly Iran would mean lower oil prices, which would mean the Dems look better in midterm polls. Thoughts on American involvement in regime change in Iran? I mean, if you mean regime change before, I don't think there's going to be a regime change happening for Iran to the regimes to topple, and then a new one comes up that becomes friendly with the United States. But all of this, wrap this all up before the midterm elections.
Yeah, we don't have much time. So
yeah. I mean, in the short term, you might actually say they don't want to topple the regime because it will take long. It will actually, in the short term, even in the long. Okay, let's say the Iranian regime falls and a new regime comes and is friendly to the United States. And because of that, oil prices are stabilized or become much lower. Okay, that could be the long-term outcome. The short-term outcome is going to be higher oil prices. Long-term is going to be lower oil prices. Short-term is going to be instability in the region, uncertainty, potentially some war happening. The supply chain becoming. Up in the air, like there's going to be a lot of problems getting the oil out, and that level of uncertainty would like really increase oil prices. So, and it's not just going to be about Iran because it's in the region. It's going to affect Iraq. It's going to affect Saudi Arabia. You don't know if in all this chaos, Iran will want to send a message and start attacking Saudi. Like even the possibility of Iran wanting to show to the world that, oh, if you topple this regime, we're going to create havoc in the region. Like, oh, don't topple us because we will still have like guerrilla groups everywhere and we're going to get revenge. So they might want to send that message. So that potentiality being there is going to make the oil prices it's going to disrupt the supply chains from Iraq and Saudi Arabia as well. And that could actually bring the oil prices really sky high. This is potentially why United States is not necessarily supporting the Iranian people against the regime. If you actually listen to this would be true whether Trump is in power or Biden. Like this is not like Biden administration. But if you listen to their language, they don't every time they want to support the Iranian people, they're very careful about how they frame this.
Mm.
They do not support. They do not say that we support Iranian people to topple, like in their efforts to topple the government.
Right.
They would not say that. What they say is that we support Iranian people's right to protest, or their human rights, or their right to come out in the street. But they do not mention the aim of the protest, because they do not want to say there's what their standing is on that goal, because they know the goal is the toppling of the regime, and they don't want to say if they support it or not, because that would be crossing the line for them. If you actually listen, even if you ask them, you keep asking them, like, do you support the Iran? Like, if you ask, like Robert Molly was asking recently, like, he misrepresented what the Iranian people want, and he was like, he came and apologized, and they kept, like, if you keep asking him, like, oh well, do you support their desire to topple the government? They would not say yes or no. They would say, like, I support their right to protest. I support their right to be heard. I support. That's what they would say. So they're very clever about that, and it's intentional.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything to say to that?
No, I think no. You did a fantastic job. So.
Okay. Cool. All right. Oxymoron, and then PK is here. Oxymoron first. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Good.
Good.
What's your question?
So I had a Pew survey of India compared to the Pew survey of United States.
On what question?
No, I am just talking in general how the societies work and how media biases play to portray a very different picture than it actually is. So the
Can you
data
put that in a
doesn't.
question? Can you put that in a question format?
Yeah.
No, I would just wanted to discuss this. It would be a huge question, then it will become a huge question.
Okay, but we want to make sure that we end this before the 2-hour mark. So,
Okay,
try to
so
frame it in a way. Yeah. Okay.
okay,
Go
I'll
ahead.
try some other time.
Oh,
So
no, ask it. Like, okay, well, tell us what it's about. Tell us, like, try to. Can you explain
okay,
it in 1
so
minute?
yeah, so so the Pew survey of India says that 89% of Muslims, they don't feel discriminated, as opposed to Pew survey in India, 89% Muslims say they don't feel discriminated for being Muslim, as opposed to United States Pew survey, which says 82% Muslims feel that there's a certain kind of discrimination against them.
And
Okay,
are you?
Is it the same? Is it the same poll, or is it different polls?
No,
Like, is it?
the company that does that is the same. So the
No.
questions
My
are
question.
exactly similar.
The question is, was this part of the same polling, like the same study, the same?
No, they are different studies.
Okay, it would be good. I mean, this is still interesting. What you're saying is interesting, but it would have been better if it was part of, like, multi-country analysis. Okay, because if the methodology is different, then it wouldn't be a fair comparison. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but the methodology is actually very scientific in both
No.
surveys.
That's not what I said. The methodology could be very scientific, and that would mean that it's a consistent results that you're getting. But if it's the methodology, the methodology is the same, that would have made it better. I'm not saying this is a bad comparison. It's interesting to look at it, okay? But it would have been better if it was the same study with the same methodology, not just a scientific methodology, but the same scientific methodology. But anyways, that's very interesting. What do you think? Why do you think that is?
Because the collective mindset of people. So Indians in general are very racist people, but they have certain kind of community identities. So the small pockets, they don't actually experience the discrimination.
Can I have
as
a
opposed
different?
to,
Can I also suggest another hypothesis? I think the standard for what Indians consider discrimination is a lot
Maybe different,
lower than Americans. You know,
that
like
plays into
Americans.
that too.
Yeah.
So, but my question then would be, if Indians are sensitized to certain kind of discrimination, they don't feel discriminated, and the Americans feel they are more entitled. So, isn't it bad sociology that US is having? The social structures are
No,
bad
I
in
think it's
United
progress
States.
when people demand more. It's a good thing.
Yeah, but
Like
people people feel discriminated. The problem is
I
how
know.
you feel. It's more important.
Yeah, but
Well,
I don't necessarily think that the structure of how we're setting up society in either case is really the largest contributing factor, right? It's history, it's culture. The history of the Indian subcontinent and the amount of different communities and the amount of different ethnicities and religions and thoughts and all this intermingling and so forth, that history is very starkly different to the United States. And where we end up, where the United States, the social programs that end up bringing in individuals from other countries, a lot of the places that they are located would surprise people. For instance, Tennessee has one of the Tennessee, a very solid red Republican, we don't want them immigrants kind of state. We have one of the largest Kurdish and Somali populations in the entire country. And that's just because our specific state immigration system brings them to Tennessee. That's what we do. And so that may also be a contributing factor. I still think it's very, very interesting. The stark difference between how people feel they're being discriminated or not discriminated against. But yeah, a lot of factors.
I think this is actually a very interesting philosophical question, right? You're saying even if people's conditions are worse, as long as they feel better, shouldn't what they're feeling be more important to us than the actual condition? Because we want people to be happier, okay? That's a very interesting point, Oxymoron. The problem with it is that what we have to think about is not just short-term happiness, but long-term happiness, okay? So you're missing out on a lot of progress because people are not I want people to be discontented. I want people to be somewhat unhappy, but even though that unhappiness right now is going to cause their quality of life to be lower, okay, because they're demanding more, they want more, but that fuels progress, and longer term that benefits a society, because a society that is content because like they're happy with how things are, they're not going to push for change, and they're going to miss out on a very, very bright future. Does that
Yeah,
make
but
sense?
the change could come with huge cost. Um, say though, if the society would get arranged like the Western society is, it will have to take huge toll on itself. So there could be genocide, because if
Yeah, no, but
we
we're banking
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
idea that general trends of change is like an average towards progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
no,
could
I don't
be
think.
no,
Uh,
there
so
could be.
so so
Last
let's
point,
say
but go ahead.
caste politics. So what happened since Modi came? So the caste politics, the caste discrimination, it significantly fell,
That
generation
doesn't
by
contradict what I
generation.
said.
No,
Oxymoron,
no,
that
no.
doesn't
So
contradict what I
hear
said.
me out. So what I'm saying. So the caste politics failed, and the Hindu politics, that is on huge rise because the caste politics, it's not working out really well. So the check and balance mechanism that existed before, it's going down. So if this continues, there could be a real risk of genocides, because you are destroying the pre-existing structures, and
Yeah,
there's no
but
real replacement for it.
but the issue with what you're saying is that you're saying the most likely outcome is all of these terrible instances, but in reality what we've seen historically is much more in line with what Armin was saying, that these moments of us of people in a truly grassroots movement, demanding change and wanting, more freedoms and more autonomy for themselves and minorities and so forth, that more often historically has led to progress in those arenas as opposed to the hard swing backwards. Of course, we see that back and forth of the pendulum, but again, like for the vast majority of political scientists around the world, I mean, they would 100% stand on the side that, like, we've gotten better in that sense, right? Like, we're getting further away from that stuff and more towards the inclusion for everybody.
Yeah. So last point I want to add to what Secular Rarity just said. In the short term, there are a lot of examples when we went backwards. Okay, but when you zoom out and look, the general trend is upwards. So more change on average is a good thing.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about this later at some point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
heck
we could talk about general trends in history.
Mhm.
All right, good. Thank you, Oxymoron. Let's go to bye. Let's go to PK. Hi, PK.
Hi, how are you guys?
Hi.
I'm good.
Good, good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I just had one question. Something happened today. I'm in college, so I was on campus, and I was like in the engineering building, and I overheard like two people next to me. They were like talking about, both of them were Christians, and they were like talking about that. Oh my God, we didn't pray, and we need to start praying, and we are missing. They're missing those things, and a thought came into my mind like, because you have been an atheist for a long time, you've been in this space and you've been dealing with all this. Why do you think that someone like people who are like engineers, who are like scientists, like clearly they understand, they have like critical thinking, and still why do they still believe in
Mm,
God? Like that I don't understand. Even I have like friends, like I have like a few Muslim friends.
yeah.
They're brilliant. They're like geniuses. They're really good at their work, but they still believe, and that I don't understand.
Yeah. It's because of this weird ability for human beings to hold two completely contradictory statements in their head at the same time with the same sincerity and attachment to those beliefs. Also, we seem to have this ability to hold beliefs very strongly, but also act in ways that are completely counter to what the logical conclusions of holding those beliefs would be. I honestly, I think it's cognitive dissonance. Yeah. Sorgu compartmentalization. Absolutely. I mean, cognitive dissonance. Yes. 100%. And why is that a feature of humans? I don't exactly know. But yeah, that seems it to me more than anything, because when I have those conversations too, PK, I'm in the same boat where it's like, how the fuck do you know all this about like biology and cell membranes, but then you think ghosts are a thing, like how the fuck does that work? But
No, I mean the people who are religious, they really believe. I mean, ghosts is just like, okay, fine, you're not really that sure about it, but religion, they're like, no, I need to pray every day. I need to do
very
everything.
serious.
Yeah, that really, that's something.
So I think there's three things. There's compartmentalization, cognitive dissonance, but there's also sometimes I read a study that sometimes it could be because they're smart. Okay, there are certain nonsensical claims that requires a lot of mental gymnastics for you to be able to rationalize it. That not every average individual could do. Like sometimes somebody, because they're not that smart, I could say like, hey, look, this doesn't make sense. And they're like, they don't have any way to justify it because they're like, okay, yeah, you're right. It doesn't make any sense. And they just accept it because they can't come up with the mental gymnastic arguments required to rationalize something that is nonsensical. Sometimes it takes somebody that is a little bit smarter to make something nonsensical actually seem like it's smart.
That's a good point. You're too smart for your own good, more or less. You work yourself into all these knots because they're so complicated and complex, and you're so smart to figure them all out. Yeah, that's a good point too.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. I just had this one.
Yeah, good
experience.
question.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. All right.
Good night.
Thank you, PK. All right, this is good. Look, like right on the 2 hour mark. This is
We're
fantastic.
awesome. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's so hard to be this good daily, Armin. I know it weighs on you. It weighs on me.
Guys, before I ask you for likes and subscribes, guys, check out in the links in the description. Go follow Secular Rarity. Go follow his social media accounts. He's not just active here. He's like all over the place. He's so popular that people keep wanting him to show up at different shows or do recording videos. Like he's been on Atheist Experience as a co-host many times. So if you want, because he keeps jumping around in different places, the only way for you to know where he's going to be is to just follow his social media. So check in the description, follow Secular Rarity, and then like and subscribe here. Hit the bell notification. Leave a comment after the stream is over. And if you would like to support us, our Patreon link is in the description. You could either become a patron, and your reward for that would be that you get to ask questions from us, but also you get access to the uncensored, sexy 18+ version of our blasphemous art. So if you want to get the free version, you can subscribe to our newsletter, and you get the dress. Like, they're still very, very sexy and gorgeous, a lot of them, right? But they're not nude. But if you want the nude version, you have to be a patron. So link in the description. Or you could just come up and talk to us live on air, like you saw Oxymoron did and PK did. But for that, you have to be a YouTube member. And that's you could also support us financially like that. But no need to support us financially. You shouldn't support us financially. If you're struggling financially, please don't do that. Instead, just like the video. That really, really helps. Anyways, guys, we're going to head out. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Everybody, thanks Secular Rarity for being here as well. Yeah. And also, you should start voting, guys, on which one of his openings you like the most.
Come on. Both Susanna and Armin have already voted. So get your freaking votes in, guys, because otherwise it'll just be an authoritarian decision. We will not be democratic. So, if you value democracy, vote.
All right, guys. All right. Bye, guys.